We're back again. Here we are.
An Unsolicited Shenanigans.
Ba-da-doo-doo-doo.
Today we're not gonna do an activity today.
Oh.
I had a fun game. I had a sad game
crying
for you.
game.
But then the research behind it was really interesting. So instead of doing that, I put it on our list of podcast topics for later.
Oh, very nice.
But it works out, the activity for today ended up being an activity for somewhere later down the line, because there were a couple of discussion points that didn't make it into our podcast notes, because there was too much stuff.
Yeah, we have a lot of things.
I thought I'd spring those extra 2 discussion points on you here, and we could just talk about them before the show.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Hit me with your pet shark.
Nice. That should be... We should do, a misquoted lyrics.
We should have a...
day.
What's it? The SPORCLE? We should have a SPORCLE...
Oh! Yeah!
Live stream. Where we just take all those fucking SPORCLE quizzes. It'll be like we're in middle school again.
It'll be so good. I can get way too many. There's a SPORCLE quiz.
There's a SPORCLE quiz.
Where you just list characters who are in A Song of Ice and Fire.
No!
You have 30 minutes.
Oh my god. How many are there?
There are so many.
Oh my god.
It's ridiculous.
Cat.
I can't type that fast. I literally don't think
that's what I'm here for, is I can type really fast.
Nice.
But the thing is, you do have to spell them.
I was gonna say we need one more person, because I can't spell Game of Thrones names.
Oh no, So
I'll list them off.
The problem is we don't have a third person that's going to be able to spell Game of Thrones names, because...
No one can.
No one can. Ben and Will don't watch Game of Thrones, and also I don't
trust
Randy. Oh, Randy
He can spell anything.
Is that true?
I don't know.
He's got an art degree. If it's anything like mine, then I don't think he can spell. Randy, if you're listening to this, I know you're our one dedicated listener. Please hit me up with your spelling test skills.
Yeah, anyone who wants to apply to be on our live stream, please spell Marjorie. And/or, what's the other? Marcella. If you can correctly spell Marjorie and Marcella, you can be on our podcast.
Ooh.
Don't look it up. That's
That's
cheating.
Cheating, yeah, because then you'd just be reading off a list of things. This is wildly off topic.
This has gotten away from me. The first discussion point, just jumping right... Oh, we should talk about what we're talking about.
We're talking about character death and retirement.
Yeah.
So that's why we're going to have a happy, fun podcast today. And I'm not going to be sad. I'm not talking about one of the most traumatizing deaths of my entire
Alan's
comic.
intentionally traumatizing me. I just want to point that out.
Listen!
You had choices!
I had choices, but it's the best choice!
But one of them was so relevant. To you, specifically. Because you retired a character this week, and then you didn't take that point, you took the sad point, so you could traumatize me. Anyway, not that I'm bitter, but even just the notes made me cry. So...
I just wrote down the name.
That's more than enough! That is plenty. Anyway. So yeah, we're going to be talking about character goodbyes today. And so the first thing I wanted to do is since it's the more sad thing, I'll just start there and then we can end our shenanigans on a happier note.
Right.
Before getting to the sad podcast. The first one is just if there were any, because we're not really talking about character deaths today, because we've already done that. Well, it'll come up, but that's not the point of the thing today. So I just wanted to know if there were any memorable character goodbyes for you, because we have examples for tropes, but we don't have the most memorable.
I'm gonna say my one because it's my example for the podcast.
Right. Are there any examples that you have that aren't making the podcast?
So I'm gonna talk about Hellsing, which I don't talk nearly enough about. So in Hellsing, they have something we're gonna cover in another podcast, which is if you don't see the body, they're not dead. So at the end of in the second to last or so chapter, Alucard, has his big final flourish, to help take out all the Nazi vampires.
Right.
Which is very good. And it's very dramatic. It shows off all his powers. And then he just disappears into the night.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh fuck. 'Cause the whole thing is because he's Dracula, he's built up as this unkillable, absolute death machine. And so when he actually does go, it's it's grandiose and it's big, but he's just gone right after. I was thinking about that, and I was pretty upset about that one. I was like, oh shit, that's sad.
That's fair.
Yeah. That's a good one. Do you want to take one?
One of the ones that I wanted to talk about actually isn't a death, it's a goodbye, and I was really hoping it would come up, in the thing, but, it's not going to. So,
we can switch points!
I can switch points, but I already have plans to do that once, and if I don't follow my notes, I'll get lost. Anyway, one of the ones I wanted to talk about was actually, Doctor Who. Because I think how, when a character leaves, you can end up having a lot more respect for them if they just, decide to leave. And one of the things is that Martha was in love with the Doctor, and the Doctor didn't love her back, and that's kind of always been the dynamic between companions and doctors. Female companions always... because, the Doctor. Who wouldn't love the Doctor? Unless it's the Matt Smith Doctor, but he hadn't shown up yet. So Martha... Anyway...
Jesus Christ, cat.
Went off on a little bit of a thing there. But, the... Doctor's, not... They don't have the same relationship dynamic, and so Martha, when she... And she wasn't my favorite. There's that thing on shows where it's, when they replace a character that you've really liked... No matter how good the new character is, you're just bitter and you don't like them. And I feel like I had a lot of that with Martha. I ended up not liking her because I loved Rose.
Right.
So much. And then, Rose is gone and it's there's nothing that Martha can do that's going to justify writing off Rose. So it's I didn't like her a lot of the time that she was on the show, my first time watching through Doctor Who. But then, when she left... She just acknowledged it. She's like, listen, I love you. You don't love me back. I'm gonna go find a life for myself that's not just being your companion. And she was like, it was one of the most, it was my favorite companion leaving thing. And I liked Martha so much more after that. And when I watched the show after that, you appreciate her more. It was just good. So that's
really...
one of my favorite goodbyes.
It made a really strong impact for who her character is.
Yeah.
That you can appreciate watching her again.
Right. Because even though it was you didn't have it until she was leaving, and it was really weird before that, because Whovians get into debates online all the time about who the best companion is, and up until that point it was one of those things where it was I always made a really strong case for, because I didn't my first time watching through Doctor Who, I didn't watch the new ones in order, like I should have, because you didn't really have to watch the old ones in order, and I didn't understand how linear the continuation was. But it was so when I was just watching them sporadically out of order, it was one of those things where it was I would always make a case for Rose, and I would make a case for Donna, and that was it. And it's everyone else is just dead to me. But, after that, it's you know what? Martha was pretty cool.
She was fine.
She still didn't get the best episodes, but she was a good companion. And it's yeah.
It's good.
the leaving had, like, a really good impact. And it was interesting because, like, she didn't die or get, like, forced into leaving. She didn't get, like, trapped in an alternate dimension or...
she just did.
Yeah.
She chose to leave.
And
that's powerful.
Good. It was very empowering way to leave the show. And I liked it.
I liked it. I also like it because it does seem like a lot like the companions sort of get outshone by the Doctor from what I've seen. So like that putting their foot down, being like, I got other stuff to do, man. I like that.
It was good, and it's something that I liked. It's something I like a lot about Donna, also, is that, like, because she's played by Catherine Tate, so Catherine Tate is just, like, never outshone by anyone ever.
She's so cute.
So, like, she was very powerful, and she also she was a lot bossier, I feel like, but, yeah, it was interesting to see someone just, like, I'm not gonna do this.
Right, I'm not gonna deal with this right now.
And not too long after all of that, Moffat took over full time, so we didn't get good companions
after that.
Much after that,
which is a shame.
Yeah.
It's out. I think the other one I want to talk about is Andy from Toy Story.
Nice.
Because the ending of Toy Story 3 fucked me up. Real bad.
And it's like a relevant thing.
And it's relevant because the new
trailer.
I did not think I was gonna be. I have to stop getting excited for Disney movies. Because I feel like I'm just gonna get disappointed.
I'm so excited. The hot take while we're on this.
Hot take.
I love that Alien is now a Disney movie. I love it. I hate it, but I'm so excited.
You know what that means is in all the Disney merchandise. Listen, there can be an Alien ride at Disneyland.
Yeah.
Important.
And also, I don't know if you know that. I don't know how much you know about Fox movies. Wrong Turn is now a Disney franchise.
Awkward. It's very awkward.
Good.
Oh, we live in a world, don't we? Oh, dear Lord.
Eliza Dushku, my favorite Disney princess. I'm calling it now. Listen, if Alice is a Disney princess, anyone who survives a Wrong Turn movie is now also a Disney princess.
That's fair. That is more than fair. Because as it turns out, to be a Disney princess, you don't actually have to be a princess at all. Disney.
But yeah, Andy. Sorry.
Andy. Whoever hasn't seen Toy Story 3 at this point, you really should.
Dad.
Do I get to call your father a coward again on the podcast?
You can't do it because it's not that he won't watch it. It's that no one told him we were going to see it.
Oh no! That's on you.
That one's on me.
You're the coward.
You're the coward. But why he hasn't seen it since then, I don't. Well,
who knows? You're too busy watching him make other things. But yeah, so, at the end of Toy Story 3, Andy has his big goodbye, to all of his toys, because he's moving to college, and, you know, he's grown up and everything, and it's like, he was planning on taking Woody with him, but, like, everyone else was, you know, going, and, you know, they go through the whole movie and everything, and all the toys end up with this little girl, and he sees her playing with them, so he joins in, and they, like, play with all his toys together, and then he decides to give them all, including Woody, to her, and then, like, the last thing you see of him is driving off and saying goodbye to all his, to Woody, specifically, and it's just, like, real good. Andy wasn't there a whole lot, but I feel like, especially in 3, he always had a presence throughout the movie because they're Andy's toys.
Right.
So Andy was clearly a huge influence, you know, on their character and on their lives. So when he finally said goodbye to them, you could really feel the weight of it all.
Yeah.
It hit me especially hard because I had Dax there in the theater with me. And I was hugging him so tight. Dax is my stuffed animal that I've had since forever. So, it was very emotional.
I'm not ashamed to admit that, like, after watching, I didn't take any, like, stuffed animals to the theater with me to see it, but, like, I came home that night and, like, I went to bed that night with my first stuffed animal because it was, like, it was a very emotional movie.
Right, it was, like, it was really nice because it was, like, sort of another way of saying goodbye isn't the end.
Right.
Goodbyes can be another beginning, because it was a new beginning for Andy, and it was a new beginning for the toys.
Yeah.
I thought that was really, really good.
That was nice. The last one that I want to talk about that I knew I wasn't going to get to on the podcast, it's actually the opposite of, like,
that?
Of this. It's, because I want to talk about Beric Dondarrion.
Oh.
I wanted to bring him up in the podcast originally because I felt like he was, like, a really good reflection of how, leaving moments can sort of reflect the character and their position in stuff. But he wasn't memorable, and I'm pretty sure no one remembers Beric Dondarrion unless you talk to me, because I'm always bringing him up.
I don't remember who Derek brought up.
Well,
who is that?
I'm glad, because I get to bring him up again. And you're gonna remember, because I've ranted about him a little bit before. But when because he keeps dying. He's the guy who keeps coming back.
Oh, he's the guy that keeps dying.
Yeah.
Oh, now I know who
Sir
he is.
Beric of House Dondarrion, and he didn't leave much of an impact when he first shows up. And he's not there, like, he's not in the show very long when he first gets there, and it's one of those, like, he's very much a political pawn at this point in a Game of Thrones, because Ned Stark is sitting on, he's ruling for Robert, so he's like the hand of the king, but he's on the throne, pretty much, and he's having, like, a secret war with the Lannisters, and he can't declare war on the Lannisters because all of the stuff that they did was secret, and he doesn't have proof of any of it.
Right.
And he's afraid that the houses won't back him, but he's, like, preparing to start a war with the Lannisters, and Robert wouldn't give him permission to just, like, outright do it. Right. And then, so Robert leaves him in charge of the kingdom for, like, 2 weeks. And he's like, and the Lannisters are also trying to provoke him into starting a war with them.
Right, because they're shitheads.
Under the table, so that it'll look like, oh, the Starks started this war. So they send, and they got really mad at his wife, so they sent a guy who's, like, very noticeable. They sent the Mountain out to, like, go kill some, Tully men, pretty much. So the Tully farmers come up and they to the king to complain, and they find Ned, and they're like, we lost a lot of children and crops and horses, and they were ransacked, and they described the guy who's, like, he's the biggest man in Westeros, so, like, it's pretty obvious at this point that it's the Mountain who works for the Lannisters. So Ned he's like, I'm going to send someone to go bring in the Mountain for arrest, and Tywin Lannister has to answer to this or be declared an enemy of the crown. And it's, like, the boldest thing that Ned Stark ever does, right? So it's, like, a really big Ned moment, and it's a turning point in the dynamic with the Lannisters. And the guy who does it is Beric Dondarrion. And they name him, and they go through, like, all his titles and everything, but the moment isn't about him, and it's not really important when he leaves, right? So in the background, there's this war going on. Ned Stark is arrested. The war continues and Beric Dondarrion has openly been chasing the Mountain at this point. So, to declare for Ned Stark / the crown, well, the king dies, and then Ned Stark is arrested. So, the people that he was backing are gone, and the Lannisters take power, but he can't go back to them, even though they are the crown, technically. He can't go back to them because he's been chasing the Mountain. Right. So he ends up starting this organization called the Brotherhood Without Banners, that he runs off and joins in the background, and you still don't really see Barrick for the longest time, and then they come back, and they're like, and you don't really know who he is in the show, I'm gonna be honest. I watched several times through before I was like, oh, hey, that's the... Because, like, he wasn't important the first time, and then the second time he leaves the show, you see him die, and he has a trial by combat with the Mountain's little brother,
right,
the Hound, and it's like a really impactful moment because you kind of like him at this point. You know, you see the Brotherhood, and they're a bunch of outlaws at this point, but they're like kind of fighting for the right side, and they're trying to make sure that the common folk aren't destroyed by the lords that are waging war with each other, much like Beric Dondarrion was, honestly, because he just got absolutely annihilated in this war. So he's like, so you kind of like the Brotherhood, okay, and you definitely don't like the people chasing the Brotherhood, because it's the Lannisters, and they're like torturing and killing, and
they're bad.
They're bad. And so he has this trial by combat, and the Hound kills him, and it's like, it's a dark moment, because it's like, oh man, now the Hound's gonna get away, and, you know, the Brotherhood is gonna disband and everything, and it was like, it was such a shockingly powerful moment, and then he comes back. The Lord of Light saves him and brings him back, and it's like, and then he has several on-screen deaths, and you find out that he has died several other times, and in the time that we didn't see him, like, all the background stuff, he's taken up with the Lord of Light, and he meets Thoros Amir, who just has the power to bring him specifically back from the dead repeatedly. God. And it's like, but it was such an impactful moment, because it's like, and I love the disparity between those first two leaving the show moments.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh man.
Oh shit. Oh, he died. What? He what?
And it's like a good reflection, because the first time you don't really know who he is and you don't care that he's gone, and then the second time you know who he is and you care that he's gone, and then it's like,
just kidding.
Just kidding. And then, like, as you watch him die more and more on the show, and especially in the books, like, in the books he dies a bunch more, but it's one of those things where you see the impact that, like, because one of the things is that he loses a little piece of himself every time he comes back.
Right.
So he kind of, like, he starts where you don't care about him, and then you see him kind of, like, fade back to that point as you watch him die repeatedly. And as his character sort of fades out, you can see the death impact also starting to fade out. It was just a really good representation thing all the way through.
It had a lot of nuance.
It was good.
To it.
But then, actually, and that might have been a little bit more nuanced in the show, because in the book, the last time his final death was fucking epic. So it's like, that kind of undid the mirror thing.
But at least it was epic.
It was so epic. It's off screen, so you hear about it. But pretty much what happens is he's like, Thoros, try to bring this woman back from the dead, because we've got to help her. And Thoros is like, she's been dead too long, buddy. I'm not doing it. And he's like, then I'll do it. And he gives up his last life to this woman that they find dead, who ends up, like, resurrecting a zombie army, and it's great. And it's like,
that's so good.
Yes. Do that.
Today we are blessed by the knowledge of Beric Dondarrion.
Beric Dondarrion's so good. He's the only outlaw who's never broken any laws. It's so good.
Wow. I guess that's how you be sometimes.
And my favorite thing, because they released they did like an in memoriam book for Game of Thrones. It's the only show I've ever seen to release an in memoriam book.
It fucking needs it.
But it was and it was so funny, because I hadn't been watching the show that long, and Beric Dondarrion showed up, and it's like, who? And then I was, like, flipping through, and they had the same entry for Beric Dondarrion in the book, like, 3 times. I'm like, what?
Is that a typo? Nope. That's intentional.
But it's really funny I think about that all the time now, and it's like, that's just Hilarious.
I love that.
I love in memoriam books with a sense of humor, I guess.
That sounds like you.
Niche category. So yeah, that's my
Yeah. I like it.
and then my other discussion point for you, just like real fast. Tabletop characters.
Yay!
Saying goodbye to tabletop characters.
I just retired mine.
Yeah.
I had to retire mine. He had to have his heroic sacrifice, which was not as impactful as it could have been because 2 of our people weren't there. But, yeah, we've never killed anyone in adventures. No one's ever killed or retired their character in adventures.
Yeah.
But in D&D, yeah, I just retired a boy Coin. He was the best of us, which is weird because he was supposed to be the worst of us.
I don't think he was the best of us.
Huh?
I'm so sorry. Thundergore, though.
Oh, no one's
Thundergore
better
is the
than
best of
Thundergore.
us. Also, maybe our NPC is somehow like...
You have a soft spot for Edmund.
I do have a soft spot for Edmund.
Coin was the best. No. Okay, so I think it goes... I don't think Edmund can be on that list.
That's
Edmund's
fair,
too naive and
Yeah.
innocent.
Yeah.
Edmund's this, like... You describe Edmund. He's your Edmund.
Yeah, he is my Edmund. I took
That's how
credit
you
for Edmund.
That's how you refer to him to other people. Is have you seen my Edmund?
Well, because I was gonna ask if they had seen our halfling, but then I was like, if they had seen my halfling, but then it was like, he's not really mine, but he is like my wizard, and then I realized that I'm also my wizard, so I was like, my Edmund.
So there's my Edmund.
But yeah, we picked up this NPC who was just like so confused and lost.
Because he got shanghaied
by a wizard.
Be a wizard, as our dungeon master so fondly puts it.
He's Edmund's got a bit of an accent. And we picked him up like on the road, and we were just gonna like give him a ride or whatever, and then we found out we were going the wrong way with him, and we just kept going anyway. But he's ended up being like the most powerful one of us because he's got evocation magic, and he can just like, and he always rolls really high to just like annihilate stuff.
His fireball is unmatched.
And he's so pure in comparison
to the rest of us. Except for
Thundergore, who again
is the best of us. So the best of us is, I think it goes Thundergore, Ordo, and then Coin.
I would argue, well, okay, maybe, yeah. I would maybe put Coin above Ordo.
Yeah.
Ordo has a better moral compass, I guess, but Coin learns more.
I think Coin has learned the most out of anybody.
I think so.
But yeah, I really love our D&D group, and I'm really glad I got to play Coin out to this point. But it was one of those things where we got in a bad situation, and I basically, my dungeon master gave me the option is I was gonna have to switch classes, because my warlock item got taken away, so I couldn't be that warlock anymore. And then I was like, well, I don't really want to play this character if he doesn't get to be this warlock, because that's sort of what I built him around, and that's where a lot of his learning and personality has come into play. So I decided it would be more fun to just retire him and move on. So I was able to work with the dungeon master in order to, give him a good send off, which was to clear everyone else of their charges while he stayed behind at the castle.
Yeah. It was nice.
It is. I love him. He will be back.
It was also super trolly because Alan joined this D&D campaign before I did, and Alan was like, we're going to be siblings, and it's like, how would you feel about being siblings? Like, it's going to be fun. And I'm like, okay. And then he, so I joined in as, an afterthought to Coin's backstory, and then, the DM and Alan came up with, like, all of these siblings that we have, and it's like, that's fine, I'm, like, along for the ride, and now Coin's retired, and it's like, here are all my other siblings.
They're all here
that
for you. You're the one that has to take out our big brother now.
Yeah, so it's like, it also really was, because we were in the middle of, like, a sibling arc, and then Coin got retired, and it's like, yeah.
It's okay. You have a pet cat now.
I do have, yeah.
You have a pet now.
My Storm.
My Storm. Has anyone seen my Edmund and my Storm? Where are they? Oh. I can't wait till we get to talk about Storm on the podcast. Not gonna be in these next 2 weeks because he has not died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of characters, because, yeah, we haven't really, other than, like, NPCs,
right.
We haven't killed a bunch of people in adventures. I do want to talk about Despair.
Oh,
she's, like, the only
best.
Dungeons & Dragons character that I've played across multiple Dungeons & Dragons campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was one of those things, she's been through so much.
She has. As it turns out.
I've been describing her as Beta Radley, because, like, her backstory is, like, her backstory and also maybe her race, although not, because by the end, Despair was a Revenant, which is, like, the closest suave thing in there.
Right.
I get, but it's like, it's one of those things, like, her backstory was really different, but she had, like, the same stats and temperament and accidental pyromania as Radley did.
Like, God damn it.
But yeah, I played this character, Despair, and she just, like, it was one of the best D&D campaigns I've ever been in, but it was, like, not great for her. She had, like, a tough time of it. And and then, like, the next D&D campaign that the next 4th ed D&D campaign that I joined, because I'm just not gonna count 3.5.
That's fair.
Was, like, we started in at, like, a high level, and it was like, listen, I have this other, D&D character who didn't die. It would be fun to, like, carry her over, and the DM worked with me, and so it was, like, it was fun, because I had, like, it was really sad, saying goodbye to Despair when, like, the party just, like, went their separate ways, and it's like, that's it, that's the end, we're done. And then I got to pretty much use that campaign as my new backstory for my next D&D campaign when we came in at, like, a high level, and it was fun. And then, she also died.
Oh.
We TPK'd, which was rough. But it was fun.
As long as you had fun.
Yeah.
Oh, no, TPK.
Yeah. But it was nice. It's like, it was a fun
At least you all died together.
Yeah, we died as a unit. Great.
An absolute unit of death. Oh, no.
But, yeah, it was like, it is weird. And one of the things that I kind of, because I actually based, like, the first high fantasy thing that I did was actually based around her out of, like, a D&D setting. Mm-hmm. And it was, like, it's just, I learned a lot about the differences between saying goodbye, like, as in a story format versus, like, a tabletop format, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to mention tabletop games.
Right.
And then it didn't come up in the notes because we have so many points. But it was so like,
many points.
It's different. There's a different kind of...
Right, because you're playing, when you're playing out a story, like you do in a tabletop format, there needs to be an immediate sense of, gravity, but also, and not always necessarily satisfaction, but it has to still fit the mood, both of the story and at the table.
Yeah.
You know? Because, the mood at the table is a big part of any tabletop game, is, because the mood at the table directly influences the mood of the story. So, Anyway, I'm waiting for that first adventure's death.
Mm-hmm.
Who's it gonna be? Okay, so, it's Cinna. That's what the look in your eyes told me, is that you're gonna kill Cinna.
I'm DMing an adventures campaign right now.
Oh, Kaylin's just gonna go back to Dorne. Kat, if you can believe it, in 2 years from now, you'll be able to hear Kat's Game of Thrones tabletop game that she's running for us, and we're smart and do good at riddles and mysteries and gods,
and they're definitely all going to survive. What?
You can't kill me. I kill me.
Anyway. No, if Cinna died, though, that's a good example. That's a good example.
Oh my god!
Cinna's so many things. She's so many, like, glowing examples of what not to do, or how to do something that sounds good badly.
Oh no, Kat.
I would have... It's one of those, like, weird things, because one of our points in the podcast is going to be about, like, pretty much, like, killing off or letting a character leave before the situation changes them too much, like you did with Coin.
Right.
And that's not... It's one of those things, in a story, I'm very much an advocate of it, but in a tabletop campaign, I like to live vicariously and, like, fight to the death for stuff.
Right.
Which is why, like, I always end up playing Revenants and, like, making pacts for stuff. But if Soulbound were a narrative, which it's not, it's a tabletop campaign, but, like, if it were a story that were writing,
Cinna would have died a long time ago.
I would have immediately, like, as soon as Cinna started to, like, go bad, I would have been like, and she's dead.
And she died. Goodbye, Cinna.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you haven't. Not that you haven't been trying.
Not that I haven't been trying, because, like, stat-wise, I feel like I've made it fairly easy.
She has no HP.
And she's reckless as... She's got live for the thrill.
Yeah.
So it's amazing Cinna hasn't died yet, honestly. And also she's pursuing stealth, which is a hidden, not real mechanic in Soulbound. There's, like...
God, it sure is.
I have a feeling, and I feel confident in saying this, that I'm going to be heavily involved in the first adventure's death. Because I think if I'm not DMing when it happens, It'll going to be Cinna.
It's going to be Cinna
or
Tawny.
Yeah.
That's her name now. Stay tuned in 2 years when my Adventures campaign comes out. Ragnarok. Featuring Kat as Tone.
As the first dead character. No.
Spoilers. No.
Calling it now. Is it spoilers if it's also a spoiler for me? If I call it
spoiler if it hasn't happened yet. Well, only time will tell, my friend. But I think that's enough for our pre-show. I think it's time to move on to the full event now.
Yes.
So get ready for tears. Get ready for sad. Mm-hmm. We're gonna be talking about some heavy shit.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.